Right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Still waking up. But good morning. Got my coffee. How's everyone doing this morning? Okay, I spoke with Miss Adrian this morning. She is doing great. She was actually on her way to a funeral. She said her internet has been out, but she got it figured out and worked out. But she said she's been watching us. She's been watching us. But I did talk to her this morning. She's doing good. She's in between moves. The apartment she was moving into, it rained really bad up there and it caused it caused damage. So so she's waiting for them to fix it before she moves in. So she's in the middle of a move. Internet, she hadn't had internet for like 3 weeks. She figured it out yesterday. And so but she's doing good. She was actually en route to a funeral when I called her. And I told her that Mr. Phil and Miss Susan asked about her. And she said, "Oh, thank y'all." She said she missed us all. So yeah, but I specifically told her, yeah, Mr. Phil and Miss Susan asked about you. So and she was like,
Thank you, Deanna.
"Yeah, you're so very welcome." Yeah, we talked for a good maybe 15, 20 minutes, I think. I think. But no, she's doing good. She's doing good. If you would like to donate to the prisoners, Cash App is in the chat. Send that to $VATSJ if you would like to donate to the prisoners. They're doing good. I actually spoke with Mr. Antonio last night. Had some updates from Antonio about what's going on in Dallas, but he's been so busy. They have been keeping him busy. But it sounds like from what he has informed me of, good morning, Miss Renee, everything is going very well. So we're super excited about that. I can't wait to get like in-depth details. I'm sitting over here like a little kid, like I want to know. But everything is going well there. So again, if you just joined us, I spoke to Miss Adrian this morning. She's doing great, doing wonderful. She was en route to a funeral. She's been doing a lot of funerals, but she's doing good. She hadn't had internet for the last 3 weeks, but she's up and running now in the middle of a move. So she has a lot going on, but she's doing good. If you would like to donate to the prison ministry, and put that in there again for those who would like to donate to the prisoners, you can Cash App Antonio. And I think, and then good news coming from Dallas. I don't have in-depth details yet because he has not been able to talk to me because that's how busy they've been keeping him, which is exciting news. But everything is going well in Dallas with the NFL alumni president. And so much exciting things going. Anybody have anything exciting they want to share? I'm the one doing all the sharing. I'm just saying. Anyone else have anything exciting? Oh, okay. All right. Well, what we are going to do today. So yesterday I've been talking about transcending inconsistency. And yesterday we talked about balance through duality, understanding that if there's light, there's dark. If there's good, there's bad. If you go left, you automatically make a right. And understanding duality being about balancing and understanding the world in a more comprehensive way, understanding that there's always going to be an opposite. Actually, one of the laws of the universe is the laws of opposite. Learned that from Antonio. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, the laws of the universe scare the crap out of me because they don't happen like, you know how sometimes you think, oh, this is happening at this time, and then this is happening at this time. Oh, so this is this. No, not with the laws of the universe. They are consistently working in tandem all at the same time. So you have to be careful to have an understanding of how the laws work and not be afraid. Well, not afraid, but not be fearful is crazy. because you have the law of balance, the law of attraction, the law, not a law of balance, law of compensation, the law of attraction, the law of reaping and sowing. Some people say there's a lot going on at one time. So you have to be careful, because Antonio teaches us thought plus emotion equals creation. That creation, that thought plus that emotion is where that little equation right there is where the laws are all up in your business. And you have to be careful with that, because I'm learning. And my dad used to always tell me, why you my child that got to learn the hard way? Why you that one? And I'm learning now. I don't have to always learn the hard way. Sometimes just watching somebody else go through this enough. It's like, oh, okay, so don't do that, because that's okay, gotcha. But it all happens in tandem. And that's also, when it comes to inconsistency, you have to understand that life is ever changing. Like it's not the same as it was yesterday. The river isn't the same river it was yesterday. Your skin is not the same skin it was yesterday. In the middle of your sleep, them old dead skin cells rubbed off on your blankets and your sheets and your pillows. That's why you got to wash them. And they also said, like, after 7 years, your mattress becomes like so much more heavier than it was the day you bought it, because of that. Nature is ever changing. We are nature. And nature is in ebb and flow. Antonio, I love how he says it. He said the grass don't fight to grow. The birds don't fight each other to fly in the air. But humans are always fighting each other. That's because we're not in ebb and flow with change. And you have to find a balance between stability and change. And that was one of the things that one of my strengths was adaptability. That's one of my core strengths, adaptability. And so change was easy for me. I could easily maneuver between things. But as I get older, no, I want this. But in wanting this, I have to understand change comes with that. Without change, there is no growth. And yesterday we were talking about the balance, talking about duality. Well, that comes with change. That's a part of inconsistency is a natural consequence of life. It just happens. It's the ebb and flow, the up and down. The universe actually has a heartbeat. So I want everyone to consider some questions, and we're going to talk about them. So the first question is, how do you handle the changes while also making some things remain stable and comforting in your life? Another question is, how do you cope with the feelings and find a sense of peace within yourself when things are constantly changing around you? And then, are there any spiritual practices or rituals you've heard about or tried that helped you adapt to change and find a sense of purpose? So I'm going to put these 3 questions in the chat so everyone can ponder on them. I'm not going to just, throw it out there. So that's why I look even more beautiful now. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So change, you have to find that balance between stability and change. For me, it's if my home has a stability to it, then I can handle the change everywhere else. Like I've realized that, and it started when I got pregnant. Mothers will know, they call it nesting. That was a stability, like, foundation for me. It's like, no, this. But then when me and my ex, when me and Don's father, the house had to be a certain way. That was my stability. And he made the comment to me one day. He said, I don't live here with you. He said, I'm just a guest. I was like, oh, snap. I had taken my stability because there was so much change going on around me. New kid, new job. Everybody always knocking on my door because I was a property manager. And when they couldn't, if the office was closed, they knew where I lived. So they just came, knocked on the door. You know, the emotional change I was going through, I almost couldn't handle that because I just had a kid. I'm walking out after 3 months and going back to work, missing first steps, missing first words, like all that stuff. So my home was my stable place. And now what I'm learning is the stability in the change is the stability within me. I have to be stable within myself. I have to be stable with who I am. And that allows me to have ebb and flow and everything else. And again, inconsistency is not a bad thing. Inconsistency is a part of life. It's how you respond to that inconsistency that determines the outcome of it. So how do we handle the changes while also making sure some things remain stable and comforting in our life? And I normally don't do this, but I would love for Miss Susan, even Mr. Phil, if they could chime in on this question, because both of you have been entrepreneurs my whole life. And you've raised a family. You've done the traveling. But you guys started a business in a time where it was taboo. So I know the changes in your lives were extreme, especially for the people, the environments around you in regards to the time that you guys started your businesses. So how were y'all able to handle the changes while keeping a level of stability in your lives?
It wasn't easy, that's for sure. You know what you say. And, keep in mind, we were young. We weren't who we are now, you know. So for me, going off to college was a big move. And I remember how excited my brother was for me. He was a professor and, he was intellectual and really wanted me to have a good college experience. He would send me a little bit of money. My dad sent me a certain amount of money each week, and my brother sometimes would send some to me. And I learned about budgeting and handling money and, how much I had. And I never asked my parents for anything more. I felt, they were giving so much anyways. And I never did. Through college, and then had several great jobs and other experiences. We both came from, when we got together, from divorce, so we'd already kind of been through something and we didn't want to experience that again. So when we got together, we understood that to a certain extent. For me, I was doing the career thing, and then getting with Phil, it was really confusing because, I thought he was doing one thing and another thing. And, he was kind of all over the place, and, just his personality was way bigger, as far as, here and there and this and that. And I was used to organization and structure and strategy. And so we had a lot of conflict, but yet in the beginning, it was smooth together. But then I got pregnant 6 months after we were married. And, you think, oh, well, that'll be fine. We just take the kid along. Everything's going to be great. You don't do that. You can't do that. And I had an extremely colicky kid. He was one of the worst the doctors have ever seen. He screamed for 3 months solid. And then really it was 6 months. So I lost sleep. And here we are with a business and everything. So it went chaotic pretty quickly. And I, we were part of the National Speakers Association in the Ohio chapter. I did the newsletters, got the newsletters out. I did all of that sort of thing, and I loved it. And as time went on, I couldn't do that. And, the things that women in particular, I think, give up and sacrifice for the children. So, we went through those times, and it really was a struggle. And I had to juggle things, and, you know, um, we had the three kids that were really, really active kids. They weren't quiet. They were like Phil, just all over the place. So it was a struggle. But we were determined with what we wanted to do. We never gave up. I mean, sometimes it was hard being an entrepreneur. You never knew where the next dollar was coming from. And it's certainly a lot harder, I think, than it is today in one way, because we didn't have all the tools that are there now. And another way, we didn't have every single person out there trying now, like everybody's trying to do something out there. So that's how it was. And as time went on, and when the last kid left the house, that was kind of nice. But then we went right into, Serena graduated and she was home when my mom fell and broke her hip. And so that changed everything. A rush to Florida, New Year's Eve, we were getting ready to go out, to go to someone's house. And instead I got the call and jumped on a plane. And so that changed our life. We wouldn't be here with you if that hadn't happened, because, we went to Florida, and Phil came 3 months later, and that was the longest we'd ever been apart. That was really hard. But it took him that amount of time to, close everything up and move down, because we couldn't move my mom, and she didn't want to move up to the cold. So that's what we did. And that was New Year's Day, 2013. And that changed everything for us. And, and then, the Les Brown thing came along. And that was, we had a great time down here. We were networking and going to a lot of big deal things. And, in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, it's great networking, great people, a lot of entrepreneurs, lots of good entrepreneurs that we're still friends with today. So that was ended up being a positive thing. And then, the Les Brown, and then here we are today, but a lot of changes. And, Phil flying out again, and me not being able to go. So trying to juggle again, another situation, not a child, but a parent. So, and I think a lot of those things, and Jerome, you're amazing with what you do, and you understand. So, and it happens, and most of the time it's the women that have to take care of, and in other situations, the husband's then taking care of the wife. And we have situations now in our life, we don't know what's going to happen, and that's why you keep pushing forward and keep doing, because you just don't know. And that's why I push to get everything. I like everything done, so that's all I can say.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. To what I heard was, through all of your changes, the way you remained stable and kept a level of comfort for yourself is you kept pushing. You didn't stop. You didn't let it break you. You went with the flow, no matter how high the waves swelled. You went with the flow. And your stability for you was keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you, because I'm as old as your business. And it's always, there's wisdom And you always want to ask wisdom, okay, so how did you do it? And even though everybody's different and every situation is different, and Tony used to always tell us success has one language, wisdom has one language. And in that wisdom, you find how you're able to find your stability. Like for me, stability is no matter where I'm at, if I can, this is gonna sound weird, but y'all work with me. I'm a big kid. If I can color, that is stability to me. Like anytime I travel, I take my color pencils and my coloring books with me. Because no matter where I'm at, that it's like that anchors me. It stills me. It helps me clear my mind. So if there's any change going on and it's a change that is too much, like one of those types of change that's like, okay, wait a minute, hold up. I got to step back from this. That the whole I need to pause everything so I can figure out what we're gonna do with this. Like the first time my dad went in the hospital, um, where was I? I think I was in like Missouri City or something. And I had to pause. And my pause at the time was driving. So for me, the stability in my changes is either coloring or I go for a drive. So for some reason, my cars are my safe places. No matter what car I'm in, it's my safe place. I get in it and I drive. And sometimes actually all the time I roll the windows down because the majority of the time when I do these drives, it's at night. So it's a clean night. It's pretty outside and just the night air hitting me. And those two things give me stability so I can handle whatever else is going on, even with the adaptive, with one of my core strengths being adaptability. It's crazy that I adapt, but before I adapt, I have to still myself. So the driving and coloring are the things that I use to give me stability because I'm realizing that everything is changing, especially with a kid now. He's not the same kid every day. Every time I see him, 2 weeks go by and you think he would have grown 2 years. And there's no stability in that, okay? But it's been awesome. It's absolutely been awesome. So Mr. Phil, if there's anything you wanted to add to
I
that.
wanted to add to what,
Oh, go ahead.
in the midst of all that, while I was pregnant with Serena, and my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer, and they were in Florida. And of course, I was the one that, me, because I'm always in the medical stuff, they came home and came to us in Columbus and stayed with us. And he had treatment at Ohio State University. And they said it was filled in his lung and they would have to remove a whole lung, and they weren't sure about that. So I called the head of the hospital and I talked to him, and I said, if it was your dad, what would you do? And he said, I'd go for it. So he did. And he lived a year, but I was newly pregnant with Serena, and he passed away before she was born, I believe, maybe after, I can't remember now. But that was heartbreaking because I was a daddy's girl, and, my dad looked out and he observed what we were doing. And, I just knew he was always there, and that was hard. And then my dear brother that I was so close to, Serena was 6. When he passed away, that was just unbelievable because, he was 51 years old and beloved by everyone. People still mourn him today. So we had, that. And then my other brother passed away 3 months before my mom broke her hip. So we had a lot going on. And Phil had his situations with his family going on as well. So those things, as you get older, those things all happen. You just don't know what's going to happen in your life. And you keep going, you keep the business going. I mean, my dad, I'm not sure, I think it was Jim, was my brother was passing away, and we were blowing the bubbles, and he was going, and Phil was at a presentation speaking, and he had to continue it, and he was, coming right after, but he got there right after, he passed. So, you have to hang tight, as an entrepreneur and small business owner, and if you have a partner, you got to stick together.
Oh yeah, that one learned it the hard way the first time. This time around, it's a little smoother. It's a little smoother.
It's going to have its ups and downs because difference of personalities, and because you're entrepreneurs, and Antonio's a big thinker like Phil. They're looking at Phil was always looking at the big picture, and I'm always on, okay, what do we have to do now? What do we have to do now? And he was the big picture guy. So it does cause frustrations.
It is weird because I'm not Antonio's the big picture thinker. I'm the today thinker, but at the same time, my adaptability is like, okay, let's just do whatever. Like I'm here for the ride. Let's go. Where are we going next? Okay, now in this going next, like, do we have this? But then come on, let's go, because that big picture look real good. But I can see, but my imagination puts me in a place that, well, Antonio told me it pushes him, because he'll say, go do this, and I'll do it. And when I do it and I come back to me, he's like, okay. Like there was one situation where he said, you pushed me to a point that I haven't been before, because he said, find a house. I found a house. It was a 9-figure house, but I found a house. And he was like, oh, okay, that's what yeah. Okay, well, let's go. I'm like, okay, come on, let's do it. And he said that was the first time that I raised his bar, because the kid in me, the house had a lazy pool, a bowling alley, a beauty shop. I mean, hey, if I can have you come to me and I don't have to leave my house, we are having a good day. That's stability for me, okay? So it's funny because I look at you and Mr. Phil, and I see me and Antonio. He's the strategic one, but he's also the big thinker. But I'm the background admin, do little things, but the big kid. So I love watching the dynamic between both of you, because I'm like, oh, that's gonna be us one day. So I thank you so much for sharing. Mr. Phil, is there anything that you wanted to add to share with us?
Well, my story is that I've always had change. I was adopted at 20 days old. I had my adopted sister died when I was 2, and my adopted father died when I was 6. So was used to change. So the gift I have is every time I gave a speech, I got to listen to it. So that's what got me through it, because so my mess became my message.
Mm.
And I had to walk my talk.
Wow. That's a shirt. My mess became my message. I like that. Thank you, Mr. Phil. And that's the thing with Mr. Phil. He says the most powerful things in the fewest words. I don't know anybody else that does that. I really don't. And if he says it and it hits you, you sit there, you're like, wait a minute. Did he just say that? But I thank both of you for sharing. And like Mr. Phil said, he was born into change. 20 days, change. 6 years, change. And I'm sure in the years after that, change. And and that it, if you make your mess your message, you'll find stability in yourself. That's what I got out of it. Because if I go back and I look at all of my messes, I'm like, okay, yeah, don't do that anymore. That no, don't do that. And if I go back, I used to keep a journal. As a kid, I used to journal. Well, it was my diary at the time. I had the little lock and everything. And I used to, and Mr. Phil, I used to read. I used to go back and read, and I would sit there and I would read, and I was like, wow, I'm so happy that I wasn't there anymore. And then a few years later, I go back and I read, and I'm like, wow. And I would even ask myself, what changed? Like, what shifted me to where I am today from that little girl or that teenager? And even when I hit my early 20s, I haven't journaled like that in a while. My journaling shifted. My journaling shifted to, it became my vent, how I vented. And when I go back and I read my vents, I'm like, man, I was so angry. But in the mess that I wrote, I saw my growth, and it allowed me to celebrate because I recognized that, okay, you found stability in that area. There was a lot going on, especially when my parents divorced. Oh, that was just, I am a daddy's girl, Miss Susan. I am a daddy's girl. And so that whole situation just threw me for a loop. But it was weird because my dad's youngest sister, she said, you never properly emotionally responded to your parents' divorce. And then when my grandmother died, my mom's mom, she told me, she said, you never mourned your grandmother's death. And I sat there and I thought about it. It I don't remember the emotion of it. It was a huge change in my life, but I was so focused on being the stability that I didn't worry about the emotions attached to it. And being somebody else's stability is not good for you if you're not stable yourself. I'm a 12-year-old trying to be stable for an adult. Then I'm a 15-year-old trying to be stable for adults. And I don't know, it emotionally in some areas it just shut off, and then emotionally in some areas it exploded. It was like, again, ebb and flow. You have a left, you create a right. On one end I was numb, on the other end I'm full of emotions. So I thank you, Mr. Phil. I thank you, Miss Susan, for your transparency and just for sharing with us, because outside of my grandfather, you two are the two that I've known who has had the longest career as entrepreneurs that I know. And I didn't even realize my grandfather was an entrepreneur until like a couple of years ago. It just dawned on me, like, wait a minute, my grandfather never worked a job. As my whole life, the office building we went to was his. And it just dawned on me, like, wait a minute. And then come to find out, on my dad's side of the family, I come from entrepreneurs. Like, it is genetically etched in my DNA. It explains why I can't sit in the office for too long and work for somebody else, because it is not in my DNA. But I just love hearing from you. And then for all entrepreneurs to know someone who has been in business as long as both of you have, and partners in this business as long as you have been, and married. So not only are you partners in business, but you're partners in life. And those are like two different spectrums of change in trying to find stability, because the inconsistency of life, period, hit you in two different ways. And then you had kids. So now you have three. And then you had parents, that's four. So you guys got hit in every angle and you're still here. So it's just wonderful to hear from wisdom. It really is. It's just wonderful to hear from wisdom. So I thank both of you for sharing. I really do. And
There's 5 in all. Phil's 2 kids were like 3 and 5 when we got together. So they, were with us for a long time. And we lost Phil's son, if you remember,
yeah,
a couple of years ago. So we had that issue to deal with too. And that was a challenge. It was shocking for me because I wasn't used to seeing that negative situation, going on early on. And we just decided we weren't participating in that negativity. So we just carried on.
that's another hit. Like, and y'all still showed up. You wouldn't have been able to find me, but y'all still showed up. And it amazes me. Watching both of you absolutely amazes me. It really does. Because I don't know what to say. Like, from parents to kids to life and then at the same time, both of you were still growing yourself.
Yeah.
So to me, both of you have been a wonderful example of finding stability in change and finding that stability in the inconsistencies and being an ebb and flow. Antonio, we would talk and he would say, he was like, no, they are examples of ebb and flow. There's no way that they cannot be in flow and with everything happening around them. They are in flow. That's how they get up. That's like, you guys are true examples of just the heart of things, and Uncle Romy Rome, he tells us, we've had conversations with him and he still shows up. If y'all knew half the things that the Sorrentinos and the Reds go through and still show up, it makes you think, how dare I not show up? This change is happening in my life and my life is shutting down, but they have consistent change in their life and they still show up. So Uncle Romy Rome, if you don't mind me, how do you handle the changes in your life while also making sure things remain stable and comforting in your life?
Oh no, I just do what I gotta do. It's similar to what I said yesterday. All hell was breaking loose. It was doing it this morning, but life goes on, and and because life goes on, either you can accept that and still participate, or you can be overwhelmed. But guess what? It still goes on. So at this point in my life, I choose to engage and move forward versus being overcome. Because you when you were talking to Phil and Susan, I was sitting there thinking, I have yet to mourn my mother's death, and I don't know if I'm going to, because of the fact that she and I were so close when she was alive, and because I had to keep moving. That's what I ended up doing. But when that time comes, if it comes, I want it to be sacred. I don't want it to be and keep moving. No. I want to absorb it and enjoy it and just be all wrapped in. But in order to do that, I got to put something else aside. And I can't do that. And that relationship that she and I had, phenomenal, totally phenomenal. And I believe that relationship is the crux and the foundation for who I am. and how I'm able to do what I do. Like recently, I told you my niece died, the one that was blind. And I didn't come back and tell everybody. I found out later that it wasn't the fall. Her appendix burst, and they didn't know. And then once that happens, they say, if you don't get that immediately, it was all over for her. So the parents were blaming themselves when there wasn't the coroner told her, there's nothing you could have done, Mrs. Red. Okay. When that appendix burst, because no one knew, it was only a matter of time. I think within 5 hours, that person is gone. So that's what was happening. But the thing about it was, the day that I found out she died, I wrote a poem, because y'all know I write poetry. Gave it to my sister, who we were at odds from situation with my mom. Well, 2-3 days later, the sister who's been crazy calls me and say, Jerome, can you write a poem for your sister and her husband for the daughter? And I was like, she said, let me check with them and see if they can do it. They couldn't. She said, can you write one? And I said, sure. Wrote the poem. Both of them were in the program. And the one I wrote for them was better than the one I wrote initially. And I went, this is nice. But to me, that goes back to my mom and what she instilled in me, not by what she said, by what she lived. Because she raised 8 kids in that house. It was 11 kids altogether. And my father was not the world's best husband. And he didn't stop drinking until I was 11. And then he got saved. But my mom was always consistent. So she was my beacon. She was that's how you treat life. That's how you treat people. And I followed that. And I have no regrets at all about where I'm at because of that. Then crazily enough, I come along and I meet Antonio, because one of the things I realize now is once I started liking Jerome in my 20s and 30s and 40s, I worked hard for that. But when I met Antonio said, oh, by the way, you're a baby boomer. You know society lied to you. Excuse me? Oh, yeah, they lied to you. They didn't do that. What are you talking about? And then I'm sitting there listening to him and I'm like, he's right. They did. And I'm running around here doing all these things, trying to make money. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm realizing that that's not, it wasn't working. I look at my hobby, it wasn't working. Well, then what does work? And then Antonio said, well, this is what works. And I'm like, well, why should I listen to you? And then it was like, well, look at his harvest. And I went, ooh. So I am so grateful that in the process, I have no regrets, but I'm working harder now than I ever have, because I want to be in a position where I don't have to work like I did before. And I'll be reaping a harvest that will afford me the ability to not have to. So that's the other reason why, regardless of what comes, I gotta press. I can't afford to, well, woe is me. I can have the pity party, and I can even invite you guys. That still won't get me where I want to go. So I got to make sure that those things that need to get done in spite of. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Being married is like, when people ask me about, well, considering being a caregiver, and I said, listen to me. When I got married 40 some years ago, those vows, those words meant something to me. That richer or poor, in sickness and health, it meant something. And so now when the time came for me to face up to that, I'm like, did those words come out of your mouth? Yes. Did you mean them? Yes. Well, then it's not an issue. What do I need to do to make this happen? So all of a sudden, on top of what I was already doing a lot more, then was just more. And it was like, are you going to be okay? You damn right I'm going to be okay. Because this is what I am. This is what I'm made of. This is what I am capable of doing. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? Who? And so that's the position I was put in. And then I make sure that and I was saying this to somebody yesterday, when I was talking to you guys yesterday on this call, and I says, in community, what I share with you, I'm not sharing with my family. I'm not sharing with my friends because that's not who they are. But when I come to this community, when I'm given an opportunity, I share. But I'm also receiving, I'm gathering and using that material to make to make progress. So a lot of times I'll be saying I ain't got nothing to say. But then when I do have something to say, because I was thinking about yesterday, I felt the tone of the conversation. And as I felt the tone of the conversation, I said, Jerome, is there anything you can say to add to? Is there anything that you can say to build up? Because this is my community. It's personal. So instead of trying to be right yesterday or trying to put one down or put the other one up, I says, wait a minute, both of these people mean everything to me, and blah, 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 blah. So my brain said, can you say something to bless them too, as well as the entire group? And then when I said that, I shut up. Because that's all I needed to say, and shut up and keep it moving. And but that's what I want people to do for me, is give me what I need to move forward. And then don't try to don't justify, don't add to this. Just give me what I need. If I don't receive it, you did your job. Let me shut up. And that's what I try to do, because that's what I want you to do for me. Give me what I need. I think I'm intelligent. I think I'm pretty smart. I'm able to process. And if I don't, pray for me. Say, Lord, help that boy. He in trouble. Because I need that too. But the point is, I try to do for others what I want to be done for me. So this, I realized yesterday with that little incident, Antonio not being here, I said, Jerome, this is a special community for you. I gather a lot of strength and resource from this community to give me what I need to deal with all the chaos, because you don't hear me talk about the caregiving. And let me tell you, we have a visitor here right now, and she went out Saturday with my sister-in-law. And when she came back, she says, we need to talk. And I'm like, huh? We need to talk. And I went, oh. So then she was saying that the person that's helping with the caregiving is needing care. I went, okay. And we haven't talked yet. But guess what? Here's my community. And what I need to keep moving forward, to do what I need to do to move forward, this community is going to provide. Now, that other thing, I don't know how that's going to turn out or what I'm going to do. But guess what? I'm going to be okay. And you know why I'm going to be okay? Because my community is going to, like last night, Deanna sent me 2 messages. Grace will send me a message. My community looks out for me. My community checks up on me. That's powerful. That's powerful. And we don't have to, I called Frida yesterday because I got a phone call from a clown Saturday about Coinbase. I ended up joining Coinbase crypto with a little thing with Frida. And this guy was talking about my account was compromised. I'm like, dude, stop. Stop, dude. If somebody's compromised my account, I have access to my account. I'm gonna go check my account. And if I believe that it's so, I say, I got your number, I'll call you back. I say, but other than that, we ain't got nothing to talk about, because you might be the clown that's trying to get information from me so that you can compromise my account. Hello? He went, oh. Thank you very much, sir. Bye, click. Went and checked my account. My account is fine, okay? But that wasn't the point, because of Frida, me and my girl said, Frida, this your boy, blah, 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 blah. And we were rolling and we were laughing. And she said, I said, I ain't seen you in a minute. She said, I've been doing blah, 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 blah. I said, girl, you better come on them calls. I said, Antonio, he's moving it up. He's doing stuff in the background. She said, yeah. I said, I'm telling you right now. Hello. But this is my community. And this is where I draw my strength from. And this is where I get strength from. And so so for me right now, I would say to anybody, if this isn't where you get your strength from, find a resource. Now, you guys know I'm saved, born again, love God and all that. But, and I think I heard you say this, Deanna, somebody said it last couple days about how God uses people. to get his message, uses people as that vehicle. So we need one another. So this is where I get so much strength from, and I am so appreciative. But I hope that I contribute and I bring something to the table as well. I'm just not here taking and eating and feeding myself and not giving something. So I hope that at times, and based on the feedback I get, is that, yeah, Jerome, you do give, you do provide. And I'm like, okay, then. So that's all I got. That's all I got to say. Okay. And then maybe the next time when you call on me, I'll be in tears and but not today. Okay. Hey, that's all I got to say.
No, thank you, Uncle Romy Rome. Thank you so much. I heard actually a couple of different things. Because of your relationship with your mother, that relationship is a place of stability for you. It's a place of inner stability for you. And then the community is a place of outward stability for you. So through your change, you reach inside and you feel the relationship with you and your mom that provide that stability. And then out here, you got us, because me and Grace will fly out. Just call me. I be wanting to tell Mr. Phil and Miss Susan that too, but I try to behave, Uncle Ron. I do. I try to behave.
Deanna, when you told me that, the day you told me that, and I kind of like, yeah, like that. And you say, Uncle Jerome, you don't understand. Me and Grace will fly out there. And I didn't want to tell you that the inside of me was like, yeah. But that's what was going on inside of me, because, I'm telling you, Deanna, that is so important. And the other thing that's so important is tomorrow's not promised. The hour from now isn't promised. And if you don't tell people how you feel, if you don't let people know, tomorrow might be too late. And I remember the time I called you when we had some of them people online, and they was disrespecting my boy publicly. And I told you, y'all gonna fire me from ATF. Y'all, you will not let me on. And you like, huh? Let me tell you. And and you heard me cussing. And I don't cuss.
That was
But
the first time. I was like,
they don't know who they. But that's the other thing about me. If I care about you, if you mean something to me, I'm telling you, ride or die. When Phil and Susan's son died, that thing just messed me up, right? And I was like, you know what, Jerome, what do you do? What do you get? Poetry. After I wrote that poem and read it, I was like, did you write this? And I knew it was the hand of God. I said, God, look at you. And I just like, how did I? Nope, I didn't do that. So to me, tomorrow's not promised. If you care about people, it's just like probably 2 years ago, Phil said, Jerome, blah, 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 blah. He reached out to me. Jerome, we ain't forgot about you. Jerome, blah, blah, blah. I say, I know, Phil. And I told him, I ain't forgot about y'all. When that time comes and God opens that door, I'll be back. But I'm not there right now. I'm crazy about Phil and Susan. They awesome. They got it going on. Do you hear me? And I'm sitting there going, and I can't come there on Monday nights or Tuesday nights. I can't come there half-stepping. When I come, I gotta bring it. Because I'm going, that's who I am. But I got a lot on my plate. So I had to get to the point where, Jerome, what are you gonna do and what you're not gonna do? So I said, I can do the morning meetings. The rest of it gotta, now Pathbender came, like I'm like, I gotta get some of this. Because I need that for my spirit. I need that for my soul. But that's what Susan and Phil provide on Monday and Tuesday nights too. I already know that, okay? I know. But the point is that they're strong enough and they're squared away enough to know it ain't got anything to do with them personally. I'm crazy about them. But I know right now, my resources are limited. My time is limited. But them two, they the joint. They got it. And I can see why Antonio has them close to the cuff. Hello, I'm telling you that right now. Susan and Phil Sorrentino, y'all the shit. I don't care what nobody say. Unless somebody mess with y'all. let something go down. Do you hear what I'm talking about?
Ride out to Florida together.
Yo, wrong. Hey, come on now. I'm on the East Coast. Oh, who? So, and I ain't never said that to them, but y'all guys mean the world to me. And what I've seen you guys do for other members of this community are phenomenal. The transformation, what you pour in, and you do it for free, even though you got to run a business. Come on now. And you see it. And I've seen them blossom. I've seen them grow. Next thing you know, they're on the speaking circuit. And who did they come back? That Phil and Susan. That Phil. I say, that's what I'm talking about. The second time I spoke, I think it was, and Phil said to me, Jerome, I said, yeah. He said, you know, when you go out there and start speaking, you need to be asking for 45 to 5,000. Excuse me? But I said, no, what did you say? No, and I knew he wasn't. Phil don't blow smoke up your behind. Phil tells it like it. I'm sitting there going, he sees that, and so that confirmation was like, Jerome, you got what it takes. But here's the other part, and he didn't have to say that. You got to put in your dues. You got to do the work. You can't sit there and go, ooh, you just said one or two little speeches, and now you all that. But no, you not. You got to practice your craft. You got to. But see, I knew that from the military and all that. So Phil ain't had to beat me up about that. You got to engage. When I got on stage and did comedy that I hadn't planned to do, that friend of mine pushed me. And I got on stage and people were on the floor. God confirmed to me, Jerome, you got the skills, but here's the deal. If you're going to do this, you got to pay your dues. You can't run all out there, boom, boom, boom. And I said, I don't want to do Mike Nights. I don't want to do the tour. I don't want to do that. So I said, okay, God, you confirm to me that I'm funny. You confirm to me that I can make people laugh. Well, then I bet then you got to show me the vehicle. And he showed me, Jerome, remember those kids when you were in New York? You had those kids rolling. Remember when you were a substitute teacher in the detention? You had them going. So your comedy comes out when you were teaching at the engineering firm for 18 years. People came to me all the time and said, we ain't never had nobody teach this stuff. This stuff is boring. And you got us rolling and we passing the classes and bum, bum, bum. I said, okay, God. So yeah. So the Lord let me see, I've been blessed and highly favored. But I can't forget this community right here. That's why I'm still around. It's been phenomenal. And I feed off of it. It gives me what I need to take care of the next moment, the next day, the next week, whatever. And as things are going right now, my significant is getting worse. I'm recognized about maybe 30% of the time, 70% of the time. And and I tell folks I'm schizophrenic. I have to figure out who I am in that situation in order to diffuse that situation. And I sent you an email yesterday. Last night was the same situation. So I didn't get to do, I'm glad I called you and said, let's do it next week, because I was going to work last night. Didn't happen. Am I mad? Am I upset? No. It goes with the territory. And when the time is right, that time will come. I'll get it done and we'll move forward. Bingo. Don't get me started again. Leave me alone, Deanna.
No, I just heard something else though. Not only is your stability in the relationship you have with your mother in this community, but there you have stability. You have stability within yourself. It's what you just said. It said, I have to figure out who I am in that situation before I can. And you said it jokingly, but what I heard was stability for me is understanding and having confidence in, okay, at this time, this is what I have to do, but you have to have a certain mindset to be able to stabilize yourself before you do anything. So for change for you is every second of every day, but of every second of every day, you have stability within yourself, not just because of the relationship with your mom and your community, but something inside of you. You have a safe place inside of yourself. And I think that's what a lot of us miss. Like we search for safe places outside of us, but if we create a safe place within us, no matter what change is happening, we always have we were always stable within. Again, that's why I ask wisdom. I talk to wisdom. Go ahead, your days.
Okay, I'm at work. So, so sometimes we be so busy creating safe spaces for other people, we don't have enough space to create for ourselves.
That is true. Let me tell you, it's funny you said that, because I just said that. I was like, I was so busy as a kid, like my emotional reactions to certain things are completely different. On one end, you get no emotion. On the other end, you get every drop of emotion that's went through me. It's because on one end, when it came to deaths in my family and having to, I don't know, that I created safe places for everybody else to a point where I just went numb. But then on the other end, like I am an adult child having a temper tantrum.
But then the other thing is we creating safe space for other people. Sometimes it's because that's how we find our value, because we don't really understand that our value is outside of what we provide for others.
And that's the importance of having value in yourself and creating that stability within you and not finding it outside of you. That's something that I've been learning. I'm trying to remember when it triggered for me. Stuff happens to me, y'all, and I just, again, adaptability. My
Hey,
adaptability
Rihanna,
is a
in,
curse.
in reference to what Trinae said,
Yes,
one of
sir.
my sayings is, if you expect of people what they're not capable of giving, the only person that gets hurt is you. If you're trying to go outside of yourself to get what you need, and that person doesn't have the ability to provide that, you're going to be disappointed time and time again. So when you reach out to them and they fail you, if you trust your instincts, I bet you if you look real close, you'll realize within yourself, you saw the signs, you saw the indications that said they can only do so much, and you still reached out to them, you still drew them in, you still expected them, and then they failed you, and then you won't get mad at them for being themselves. They can only give you what they got.
So you done set them up. First of all, you done set them up to fail you. That's the one thing. You done set them up to fail you. Then the other thing is, when you consider, when you raise, you always taught you selfish, you selfish, you selfish. So now you giving to combat the fact that you are selfish, as if you do not deserve to take care of self first. Because if you don't, then the people who you helping, they go, to be honest, get half that shit with you. It's not gonna be the best.
There you go. Queen Renee, you must have felt my energy because you was up next. You was up next. You must have felt my energy.
Boy, I must have, because I was like, boy, I've been pulled since I was listening to Unc. I've been listening. I said, boy, I said they pull into my driveway over here. I'm like, Lord have mercy, you got me knocking on my door too. I was like, good grief. I'm glad I'm dressed. I tell you.
I'm happy you
Um,
do too. I don't think Prophet
I'm not getting in trouble with Prophet. I'm not getting in trouble. But it's amazing to me how you can try to create a safe haven for other people, but you can completely overlook yourself. It's that's something that I've been I've been thinking about it, that I've been going through for a good portion of my life is constantly worried or making sure that somebody else is taken care of and not even looking at myself, not even. And I realize it's something that I've always done from a young girl. I have a few memories, and I still hold on to them, which is crazy. I still have a few memories where my parents were together, when my parents were married, and I remember being at home with both of them and walking down to the kitchen, and Daddy was making scrambled eggs, and I was like, "Oh, it smells good in this house," and I was like, and that was the last memory that I had when my dad was living. And then I look up, and me and Mom are in a completely new apartment, and it was just me and her, and that was from 3 years old is when my parents started getting divorced. I was 3. It got finalized when I was 5. And then I went years without seeing my father. And I was a teenager the next time that I saw him. So, and I lost both of my parents in my 20s. So it's been change after change after change. But one thing that I always did was I was always like, Mom, are Mom, I always encouraged my mother. I was like, Mom, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna, what I'm saying, we're gonna be good. And in the process of telling Mom it's gonna be all right, I wrote all of the time as a kid. I had my first journal in school, probably when I was like 7 or 8. Yeah, probably 8 years old. I had my first journal, and I wrote a bunch of crazy looking stuff for, and then I kept writing through middle school, through high school, college, and even now. But writing has always been one of my constants. Always. I even used to have a blog on MySpace back in the day. It's like, that's a little, but
Remember
I was like, well, I wish I still had that. I'm like, man, I wish I could look at that. But you can spend so much of your life making sure that everybody else is good, but you're drowning. And I had so many times that I was drowning, and and the people that were closest to me didn't even know that I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. But people were like, oh, Renee, she's good, she's strong. That's why you have to be careful, and you have to always check on your strong friends, because they're going through a lot of hell, but they don't look like they're going through hell, because I don't necessarily wear my heart on my sleeve for a lot of folk. I'm just being honest. If I wear my heart on my sleeve when I'm around you, you should consider yourself extremely blessed, because I don't do it for a lot of people. I really don't. I just kind of, that's why if you see me cry, I'm like, woo, it's not Renee's been strong for so long. Renee has probably just been putting it off for the longest time. And I said, well, it's not important. It's not important until I get to a point where I'm like, it turns into
an adult temper
like
tantrum.
the Titanic. You know how it went down really, really quickly? It's like that kind of analogy. But it's I spent a lot of years doing that. But then I realized, I was like, wait. You're doing that, but how is that helping you? And how are you good to anybody if you over here like this, but you secretly are going through and you not telling nobody? And I had a friend that said to me, she said, Renee, I'm scared about you. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, Renee, you could be going through a whole lot and nobody will ever know. And she said, it's like, I'm worried about that with you. And I said, and I didn't know what to tell her. I just was like, But I spent a lot of years just going like, well, it's okay. I put myself on the back burner, make sure. And then I realized I was like, how I can't do that. I'm being I'm not being of good service to myself nor to the people that are around me. And that caused me to have to really look at some things and be like, you know what, it's okay. I'm still trying to find some of the answers. I don't have the answers, and I'm cool with that. But I am realizing that I need to make myself my first priority. I do know that. I do know that, because I can't be good to Deanna. I can't pour into Miss Susan the way I would like to. I can't pour into Mr. Phil or my aunt or all of my beautiful sisters here. I can't pour into them if I'm broken, and if I haven't even put the light on myself to know that I'm broken. There's and it's been a winding road, because I'm like, okay, but I am in such a better place now in my life, because I'm like, I had to come across with the real, and not the me that people want to see, but it's just me. You can like it, you can lump it, or you can say, okay, well, Renee, you ain't for me. Okay, that's fine. But you're getting me exactly who Renee is, not the representative, not the shy girl from Akron, Ohio. That's like, I'm just like, hey, I have to be me, because it has taken a long time, but I'm so grateful. Um, Probably will always put this over my head forever, the fact that he told me to jump on these calls, the fact that he told me to jump on here, he will probably hold that over my head forever. And see, he just said in the other room that I better believe it. So see, you guys know what you see, he's gonna put that over my head forever. And but I appreciate that, because he did say, like, Renee, you got such an eye for business. You really should, you really should jump on these calls. And I was like, I don't know these people. I don't know. And who is that cheery first thing in the morning? First time I saw Deanna, and I was like, she seems so sweet. But now I was like, who is that happy? First thing in the morning. Who does that? I thought she's running around here like she's running into an open meadow with tulips and lilies and stuff. Like,
The butterflies, don't
and
forget the
I'm like,
butterflies.
what is this? And I was like, ain't nobody that happy. I said, some of these people are fake. But you guys all welcomed me in, and you guys were like, oh, well, she's not new. That's Prophet's fiance. She's a part of the family. And you guys just, like that beautiful, like that blanket, you know what I'm saying? When you get really, really cold, and you guys just swamp me. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't even ask for this. But now I can't not be on these calls, because you guys have helped me to come out of my shell a little bit more. Because I've had people say to me, Renee, I've been seeing you on YouTube, you silly, oh my gosh. And I just said, I'm just being who I am. But I appreciate every single box right here, because each and every one of you have said, hey, yeah, you know what I'm saying? That would be, you should try this. Okay. All right. I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna write it down so I don't forget one. And then I'm gonna be like, okay. And I took it and ran with it. And you guys are the evidence why. I'm just eternally grateful, because you know that there's a certain amount of all of us had to ascend to a certain point in order to meet each other. We had to ascend to a certain point. And and you guys are the proof that I was like, okay, I may not have known where I was going, but I must have ascended at least a little bit so I can meet each and every one of you. And yeah, I will pull up. I definitely will. I tell you, I mean, we in North Carolina, but you better believe, I mean, I'll pull up and be there in a minute, especially if I know where you stay, because you know I used to live in Baltimore. So I mean, hey, I'll pull up. And we went to Florida. I'm like, yeah, I need to go to each and every last one of these states and pull up and be like, guess who's here? Because the Winston's roll. But we have to make sure that we taking care of ourselves for real, for real. And my day changes all of the time because, you know, I'm a wife, I'm a caregiver too. So a lot of things I'm like, when things happen, I'm like this. And I'm like, all right, I got to catch sometimes the things that Prophet's going through. But it is a badge that I wear with honor because I get to do that. And I'm excited to do that because I'm like, hey, that's my first ministry. You know what I'm saying? Outside of you guys, that's my first ministry. And when I wake up in the morning looking over at Prophet Jay, making sure that doing the things I need to do, I'm like, shoot, I wear that badge with humility as well as transparency because it is sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes my body gets weak, but my mind is still sharp. Sometimes it's the other way around. But I so appreciate everybody because you guys help elevate my mindset. And I find it sometimes a little disheartening when I try to talk to other people and they're like, oh, and they still are stuck in that same old mindset. And I'm like, ooh. And I'm like, and they are not having $1 million, $1 billion talks or ideas. They're having $100 or $200. And I'm like, that's not where Renee is at. I'm like, oh my, okay, Jay, what can we do to get a couple $1 million? Or I'm like, what can we do to get there instead of hourly? So that's you guys have helped me to elevate so much. And I love each and every one of you guys. I hope you guys know if you guys don't know before, I hope you guys know now how important all of you are to me. I can't speak for Private. I'm speaking for me. This is personal. And Jay just said, hey, but still, this is personal. And but yeah, love you guys.
No, we love you too. We love you too. And I've watched, we've all like watched you grow. I remember when you first started coming on and you kept your camera off for a little bit. Then you started cutting your camera on. But when you cut your camera on, you wasn't in the camera. It was on, but you wasn't all the way in it. And then you started asking questions and then you started talking. And then next thing we know, stuff started popping up and you started doing this. I'm like, okay, Renee, we see you. But we're happy to have you. And yeah, the moment you came on and Prophet introduced you as his fiance, it was like, oh, okay, she family. She good. She family, she good. And she people. That's our people right there. She look, she his, she ours. But I love that. And it seems like, not seems like, but if I'm hearing right, your stable place is within yourself. Like you've actually created stability within yourself where, because I've watched you. I've seriously sat here, I've watched you from the building of the business to the weight loss to just to your relationship with Prophet Jay to like your Coach Renee. Like when we call you that, we don't, me and Grace, we don't say that, we won't, they ain't saying that just like you are his coach, his support and everything, but and you are in a different, and that's why I was gonna call you. I was gonna call on you because you went from being single to being a caregiver to being a wife. And that's a lot of change. Hell, being a caregiver is change, but being a wife, I'm on my second round. This is my last one. I ain't doing it again. He's stuck. He is stuck.
And I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm a one and done. I'm like, shoot, I ain't doing this no more.
But there is change with that. And I remember my first one and the change that came with that. But you walked into something completely different than from what I did. Like everybody's situation is different. Like you walked in as caregiver. So the change from caregiver to wife, and then Prophet Jerry's also told his story, you know, when he was writing his book, I heard the stories. He's had a lot of change. So in that change, we've watched, like literally, not figuratively, like literally, we've watched you grow. And how has your stability within yourself, like how have you strengthened that stability with that change happening and happening as rapidly as it did?
And you know, I really think that change is a part of life. You can either choose to get angry at it, or you can embrace it and be like, okay, it's here. So now how do I flow? Because there was some things even with Jay that happened, even around the time that you proposed, that things changed because we moved from West Virginia to North Carolina. And there were a lot of things that hit his health a whole lot. I mean, it did a complete 180. And I just was like, okay, you gotta learn how to do this. You gotta learn how to do this. And I said, okay, well, let me learn how to do it then. Let me to learn. I don't know how to do any of this. I'm like, but now it's second nature to me now, because if someone says, okay, what do you do? I'm like, yep. And in the span of 20 minutes, I'm like, all right, I'm good. He's good. I'm done. We off to this. But you just have to welcome, because we can't do anything about the actual change, but we can decide how we are going to roll with it. Or if we're going to be, I don't want to do it, then that's going to make it even more painful. You might as well just relax, let the blood flow through your fingers in your brain, and just coast with it. And I'm still learning. But I'm cool with the learning, because it's in the midst of the learning that I'm continuing to learn something about Prophet, but I'm learning something about Renee too, how much I am able to do. I'm learning more about what's in me. I guess it was here all along.
Oh, I like that. It was here. You should make that a shirt. It was here all along, or I was here all along. Something along those lines. I like that. That's a good shirt.
I'll write it down. Okay, I was here all along, or it was here all along.
But you can do both. So when people ask, what do you mean it was here? My wonderfulness. What are you talking about?
Now, okay, I'll write that down.
No, I love it. Thank you, Mr. Phil and Miss Susan. Thank you, Uncle Romy Rome. Thank you, Renee. I love having these kind of conversations, because I was talking to my brother yesterday via text message, and he shared some information with me, and I was like, oh snap, okay, yeah, I didn't know that. And so while we were sitting here talking, it dawned on me. I was like, wow, I was letting my brother suffer alone and didn't realize it. And so I had to text him. I say, hey, I'm here no matter what. Call me, text me. Trust it ain't going past us. Because that's one of the things about me and my brother. If we talk to you on a certain level, you hold a certain level of respect in our lives, a certain level of trust. So we're going to tell you things we wouldn't tell nobody else. And if we hear it come back to us, we know it came from you, because we don't talk like that. We don't talk like that. if it's one of those deepest, darkest, crying, cuddle up in the bed at night type of things, and we tell you, and next thing I know, Patrick coming back to me saying, D, why you did? I'm gonna look at you. I'll be like, yo, food. And you'll never know. But I will never talk to you again. And that's how me and my brother are. And so one of the things that I had to learn was we're not vulnerable. We suffer alone because we're not vulnerable. And being vulnerable is hard when you spend time with people who, when you talk to them and you're vulnerable with them, they spread your vulnerability around. If I'm vulnerable with you, it's a reason why, because I feel safe with you. But if I don't feel safe with you, you'll get, what's up, fool? How you doing? And that's it. That's all you gonna get.
That's right.
And you could tell me all your personal stuff. I ain't gonna say nothing. But you're not gonna hear no, one of mine. We not doing that. So it dawned on me that I was letting him suffer alone. And again, as everyone has said, this community, y'all, I have shared stuff with y'all that months later I go talk to my mom, my dad about. And it's only because it's a safe place. It's a place of stability. And loose lips do sing shit, let me tell you something. And I have learned that for me, because I didn't have stability within myself, I searched for outer stability. But the only reason I didn't have stability within myself was because I wasn't being authentic with myself. I was telling myself so many lies that I didn't know who my real me was for me. And Tony used to tell me all the time, be vulnerable, be yourself, be vulnerable, be yourself, be authentic, be your authentic self. And I'm sitting there like, fool, who is that? Like, I thought that's what I was doing. But the more I opened up to you guys, and the more I started accepting every aspect of myself, both the light and the dark, the more I'm becoming more stable within myself, and the more I create a safe place in me. And the stability, it's a lot of stuff I'm learning that I don't know how to put into words. So I'm gonna try. I feel changes, but sometimes putting it into words. And my son once told me one day, I was asking him a question, and he told me straight up, he said, Mommy, I don't know how to say it. And I looked at him, I said, you know what, Mommy understands, because sometimes Mommy don't know how to say stuff either. I can tell you what Mommy feels it, but Mommy doesn't know how to say it. And so I used to just tell him, say whatever come to your mind. I'll figure it out. Just whatever come out, just let it come out. I'll figure it out. So my journey now is realizing that I'm not special, not that way, not in that way, but we are all, like literally all, going through something. I used to think I was the only one. That was my first lesson. Then it was, but nobody's going through what I'm going through. Nope. There are people going through the exact same thing that you are going through. The only difference is everybody's different. So it hits them differently than it hits you. Second thing. Third thing, everybody's human. Everybody's human. And the older my parents get, the more I come into that reality. Everybody. Somebody said it, my Uncle Ron said it at my dad's birthday. I was like, yeah, it just dawned on me maybe like a couple of years ago, my parents were growing up at the same time I was growing up. And that's when he said, yeah, they're human too. And that's what I was like, you so right. But it's not just them, because parents are just parents. Like my dad's my superhero and my mom's my mom, like, nothing is supposed to happen to them, only for both of them to go through something at the same time. And I'm sitting here like, okay, look, I'm gonna need y'all to behave, act right, please, okay? Because y'all doing too much. One of them traveling and falling all over the place, and the other one, I love them both though, but they're human. They are people. Just like every last one of y'all, we're all human, which means we all having a human experience. And the more, and that led me to number 4, worry about yourself. Number 4 is the most important. Worry about yourself. Okay? Because I can't control everything around me. But if I only focus on me, my grandmother gave me the wisest word. She said her mother told her, when you worried about how dirty somebody else's house is, who cleaning yours? And when she told me that, I looked at her. I said, Nana Kay, she said, my mama told me. I said, your mother was a wise woman. And it hit me hard. So my journey has been worrying about myself. When something pisses me off, I don't focus on the person. I focus on my emotion. Why am I mad? What do I have to be mad about? And when I started going through that process and I started cleansing myself and I stopped lying to myself and I started telling myself the truth, like, Deanna, you ain't the greatest person on earth. Like, you tell people you nice. You got a mean streak, woman. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge your evil. And Antonio pointed it out to me, and I wanted to fight him all the time because no, you're not supposed to see that part, okay? That's the part that I hide from people. You're not supposed to see that. And he said, just be okay with it. Be okay with being bad. Not like that, but be okay with every aspect of who you are. And the more, y'all heard me talk about it. I used to call her Nicole, my alter ego, whatever. The more, like, he used to tell me, you are not two separate people. He said, I always, he asked me, he's doing it less now, which I love because that means I've grown. But he'll ask me, which of you is showing up? I need to know so I know how to respond. When somebody keeps telling you that, eventually that's going to hit some soil and you're going to be like, okay, why he keeps asking me these questions? Like, it irritates me. I'm the same person all the time. No, you're not. And because you're not the same person all the time, you lack stability to be able to handle and be in flow with change. Like now, I still have moments where Antonio shifts something up real quick. And my natural instinct is, hold the hell up. What are we doing? But now that reaction is like this. It come and go just like that. And now it's like, okay, what are we doing? I'm ready. Just direct me. Which way we're going? Which direction? Ride or die. Let's roll. What we doing? Who we ride up on today? But it took me years to get, like, Antonio teaches us that it took me 40 years to get here. But at the time when I first started with him, I was 33 and a half because Dawn was like 10 months old. No, I was 32 and some change. Yeah, I had just turned 32. So yeah, I was 32 and some change. So 32 and a half years of being me. These last few years, that's how long it's taken me to just get to this point of my journey. And I am nowhere near through, and I'm actually excited about it. I'm excited about the change. I'm excited about the challenges that I'm going to hit. Because you know how Antonio always tells us about the hero's journey. Each and every one of us is on a hero's journey. But what dawned on me was we're not on just one hero's journey. We're in multiple journeys at one time. So in one aspect of your life, you're at the cave about to go in to face the biggest challenge of your life. At some aspect of your life, and this can all be happening simultaneously. That's why I said earlier, the laws of the universe scare the crap out of me because they happen simultaneously. The hero's journey, you're on you could be on 2,500 different journeys at the same time and be in different aspects of that journey. You could be just now starting one aspect of a journey while on the other journey, you're at the cave. And then in another aspect of your life in the journey, you're coming out of the cave for this one. So you've conquered it. And all that's happening at the same time. My brain wants to explode sometimes because all of this is happening at the same time. We have to, that's when I'm understanding you have to enjoy the journey. My dad told me on his tombstone, he lived, he died, he had fun in between. You have the year you were born and the year you died. What did you do with that dash?
Yeah, that hyphen is very important. How you live it. And if you did a bunch of stuff, none of that will go in between there. And if you did nothing, it may as well be dash. So there you go.
There you go.
So I want to take you back to you. I was listening, but I was helping somebody with something and opening the mail and,
working.
How you were saying that you weren't showing up authentically. So I had a big win. And I took no thought to it. Yesterday during our call, most of you all know that I do not have a relationship. It's not just about non-resistant with my mother, existent at all. So she randomly called me last week to vent. Honey, I am on my way to work and I have not talked to you in more than 6 weeks. I don't know why you would want to vent to me. I turned into Antonio during the call.
Bless your soul.
I turned into Antonio. Told her we all got traumas. You 72 years old. You got more years behind you. Blah, blah, blah. And I did not end the call angry. I did not end the call crying. I did not end the call with, well, mommy, I got to go walk my dog. I'll talk to you later. We all can walk our dogs now. We got our phones with us. And I didn't say, well, mommy, because I told her years ago, I'm not going to end our call in negativity anymore. If I feel a negative emotion coming up, I'm going to end the call. So that's how I learned to end the call, mommy. I'm not feeling very good with this phone call. So I'm going to have to talk to you another time. Have a good day. But she usually keeps on talking. And I always say, all right, now, mommy, I'll talk to you later. Bye. So it's not, because hanging up is rude. So if I'm warning you that that's what's about to happen and you keep on talking, then that's on you. So, so it didn't end like that at all. And she said, well, I just want my kids to do stuff for me. I say, well, all parents sacrifice, just straight up. We all sacrifice. Some of us choose to sacrifice one way, another way. No, we did not live in our projects. Yes, we had great educations. Yes, you sacrificed for us to have great educations. But to think that we supposed to take care of you and we got to take care of ourselves. Yes, if we have it, we can help you, but your expectation shouldn't be that that's what we gonna do, that we owe you at least that. I didn't say that, you did. You said out of your mouth, when somebody gonna do something for me? And then it turned to, I wish my children would call. And I said, well, me children is not gonna call you because it's always negative. It's always a victim. And to be honest, my life ain't there no more. I don't want to hear that no more. And I would not be paying attention. I just don't want that energy. So to make a long story short, I told her this like a million times. And she never listened. She said, well, I always thought you had it. I say, yeah, I've been responsible for my sisters and you all of my life. I don't want to do that no more. So because of that, I was not showing up authentically. I was always trying to be the one who helped, be the one who was not selfish. And after I started shedding that, I said all of that to say that after I started shedding that, I was like, when I think his name was Ebron, was like, well, we be concerned about what other people think. No, honey, not me, not not no more. Because I had already been through that phase in my life where what my mother thought about me, said about me, felt about me was important. What my sisters thought about me, said about me, all of that was important. And when I realized that I was looking at myself and I couldn't really look at myself in the eye, in the mirror, I couldn't look at me, then I knew I had to make a change. So that's a part of growth that I would not had an understanding of had I not been fired from a job. And this community just helps me bust that out even more. Just, just frees me, bust me out, whatever it is. It gives me a different perspective because I already think differently anyway. So it's definitely important to know who you are, whose you are, and who you connected to, because sometimes those energies of who you connected to can rub off on you, good or bad. And I want the people that I'm surrounded by to be having good energy and to be making big money, so that can rub off on me too.
Not along with that one. Come on, Renee. I love y'all.
Snaps and a twist.
Yes,
Yes, I have to say it.
I love all of y'all so much, and I'm grateful. And this subject came up because I asked Grace a question. I say, hey, what are you struggling with? Or like, what do you have questions about? And she was like, staying consistent. And I was like, okay. But I didn't know how I was going to come at it. And then here comes Antonio, his little voice in my head. Cause I didn't have any, mind y'all, I wasn't able to have a conversation with him. Because the night before, like I told y'all, this was a disruption for me. This was an inconsistency, because I'm used to him working with me to come up with a title. I had to do this by myself. That is inconsistent on this. No, sir. You are causing inconsistency in my life, and I'm not for it right now. But I asked Grace a question, and then from there, I was like, okay, so what can I talk about? And then I asked, of course, I went to Carlos. Carlos, what are the key points of inconsistency? Of being, of coming out it being inconsistent. And when he gave me the points, I was like, okay, I know what to do now. I know where to take this. And while talking with you guys, with all of you, it helps me, because when you talk stuff out, you get answers.
You can be consistently inconsistent.
Yes, you can.
And
Right?
I do not trust those people.
I used to live that life. Trust me, I know. I had a career in inconsistency. Let me tell you, I was consistent at one thing, being inconsistent. Where's she at? I don't know. Did y'all hear from her? Nope. D, did you finish this? Yeah, I did. Did you finish this? No, I didn't. My life. And now it's I'm going through what I went through when I was 39, about to turn 40. It was a contemplation of, okay, you're about to be 40. What you got to show for it? What do you have to leave for Dawn? And then Saturday, I was with my dad, and he pointed out that, like, yes, like Darth Vader, Diana. And my
I am your father. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
you had to finish it. I understand. And my dad said, he was asking me, is Don is 8, right? And I didn't know if he was asking me or if he was making a comment, because it's been a couple of times my dad forgot my age. So, he made me a year younger than what I was. I was okay with it. So I didn't know. He was like, you stared at me like you didn't hear me. I said, I didn't know if he was asking me or making a statement. He said, no, I was making a statement. Don is 8. He's like, yeah. He said, 10 more years, he'll be 18. I was like, man. And then it hit me. 10 more years and I'll be 50. So am I going to live the same year for 10 more years? Or am I going to be different and change and grow and actually leave something for Dawn and build that in the next 10 years? Like, what am I going to do? And in that thought process, I realized that we are always becoming something. We're always becoming great, or we're always becoming stability, or we're always becoming just being complacent where we are, but we're always becoming something. And my question to myself now is, what are you becoming? Are you becoming who you see? Are you becoming your future self? Like, y'all have heard Antonio say when he meditates, he goes and he meets his future self and they have a conversation. Well, my future me never talks to me. She just sit there and smile at me. And I'll be looking at her like, you ain't gonna say nothing? Like, we just, that's how we leaving it? Like, what we doing? And the first time I met her, it's funny. We were on a call with Miss Carol. If y'all remember Miss Carol, we were on a call with Miss Carol and she was walking us through a meditation. And that's the first time I met her. We were sitting on a bench at the beach. That's where we were. And she had her hair pulled up and she had a ball. It was like a cute little bun. I didn't know if she had braids or locks. I didn't know. And it was salt and pepper. And her face, she didn't look like she aged much. Like her skin was like smooth and she still had her freckles. Her face was slender. And she had this peace about her that made me so envious. And I had to realize, Heifer, this is you. Like, this is you. So that peace that you see in her, that's the peace you're going to have. And she didn't say anything to me. She just sat with me on the bench and we looked at each other in the eye and she smiled. And she just smiled at me. And then Miss Carol walked us back out of it. So I had to come out of it. And then I met her again. And I actually had a conversation with her. I was like, okay, so you saying this, how's this gonna happen? And she never gave me an answer. She just always she answered my questions with questions, and it frustrated me. Like, can you just give me a straight answer? But I know she exists. And now it's like, okay, are you gonna wait forever to get to her? Or are you gonna be her now? So I'm becoming my future me by being me now. And Antonio tells us that all the time. That's law of attraction. And it took a lot to get here because I strive for inner peace. But in order to reach inner peace, I have to go through the turmoil of me. Like, I am my own hero's journey within myself. Because I have to journey out of where I was to become who I'm becoming. And in the process of doing that inconsistency, I have to understand there's a difference. Inconsistency is okay. How you respond to that inconsistency is what either makes it toxic for you or presents the challenge and you grow from it. But I want to thank you all so much for this wonderful conversation this morning. I've had so much fun just listening. Like I said, I talk to wisdom. I ask wisdom questions. I stop asking if I don't know the answer, I ask those who have been through it and gone through it. And I'm looking at two people who have been, well, three people who have been in marriage as long as, if not longer than I've been alive. So why not ask them the questions? Why not ask? That's wisdom. You know, that knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. That is wisdom. And I'm also learning that, again, nobody is special. We just all have different experiences because we're all different people. So if I can ask Miss Susan and Mr. Phil and Uncle Romy Rome, hey, how did y'all manage? Like, how did y'all get through this? Because I'm walking the same path. I want to be married for years to come. I want to be 40 years down the line and I still roll over and look at him and be like, I can't stand you, but I love you so much.
Deanna,
Yes, sir.
may I make a suggestion?
Please.
Instead of nobody's special, everybody's special.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Phil. Everybody is special. You know what? That felt better saying it too. Thank you. Thank you very much. That felt different coming out because
And I have a comment as well.
Go ahead, Uncle Rummy Rum.
I told Alice this 40 some years ago when I married her. I said to her, honey, love isn't enough. I love you to death, but that ain't gonna cut it. If we, not you, not me, if we want this thing to work, we have to work at it every day. And that's what I do. Even now, I work at it every day. And I believe that's why we're still doing what we're doing, because that's what we got to do. Hello.
You just gave the secret. Thank you. Thank you so much. You just gave the secret. I caught it. I don't know if Renee caught it. I caught it.
You better believe I caught it, man. Mhm.
Deanna,
I saw that fadeaway jumper, Uncle Rummy Rum. I saw that.
Yes, ma'am, Miss Susan.
sorry, I didn't hear Renee. In God's eyes, we're all special. So
Yeah,
each
it
and every
did.
one of us. Yeah.
It felt better. Saying that felt a lot better. We are all special. Every one of us is a different godly experience, and that's what makes us special.
And
So
what
thank
Jerome said is so true. I mean, Deanna, I mean, it's an everyday thing. Work at it every day. It doesn't get to a certain point and it's just magic, from there. It's it's the same and different.
okay. Again, I am a big kid. So in a big kid's eyes, the princess gets the prince and it's happily ever after that. Like the princess, if you watch all of the movies, the princess really don't work. She just be there and he come find her.
That's where we got screwed up.
Thank you. 'Cause
I know
let me
that's
tell
right.
you something.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
They didn't tell you at Happily Ever After that the
They
queen
work
drove
every
the
day.
king crazy from her need to clean the castle all the time, or that maybe he was going to fart in his sleep, but it's all right because it's an aroma.
I love you, Renee. Oh man,
She's laughing at herself, her own jokes.
man. Oh my
Because it's just amazing what comes out of my mouth sometimes. I'm like an
All
egg. I crack
true.
myself up.
But no,
It
again,
gets easier though, Deanna. And it does get better, but there's always, it's always a work in progress.
And that is what I've been, again, change from the first marriage to this one. Two completely different people. One, I ran over. The other one, ma'am, you need to stop. You're doing too much. Yes, sir. And my brother loves Antonio. And I can't stand my brother because he look at me, he said, "Oh, you finally found somebody, you finally found a match, huh? You found somebody that can handle you." I'll just be looking at him like, "Go sit down somewhere. I love you, but go sit down somewhere. Bye." But in that he provided stability for me to be able to grow. And in that growth, I was able to find me. Well, not even find me, but able to clear all of the debris so I can see me. And now it's building the stability within myself because he can't always be the strong one. Who is he going to be able to lean on? If I'm not stable for me, I can't be stable for him. And change is always going on. Every second of every minute of every hour of every day, change is always happening. So we were having a conversation with Antonio's dad, and Antonio asked me, what's important to you? I said, healing. Being healed is important to me because I'm no good to my marriage. I'm no good to my son. I'm no good to my brother, my parents. I'm no good to y'all. I can't teach y'all broken. What that look like? And if I am broken, if I can say, "Hey, y'all, I'm broken, but this is what I'm doing to fix it," that's the step further. But to just sit here and be broken and try to teach y'all, come on, that's no, that no, that I could do it. I could do it. So when it comes to inconsistency and transcending inconsistency, being in flow with change and finding your stability in that, because change is inevitable, but finding your stability in that helps you with the inconsistency of life. And then it helps you shift that toxic inconsistency into a healthy flow in ebb and flow in inconsistency. So, well, I thank all of you for joining us today. Tonight, 7 p.m. Please forgive me, Mr. Phil and Miss Susan. I did not ask Grace who was talking tonight, but I know we do have someone scheduled for tonight. I'll get with her and then I will text you guys. I know she is actually tutoring someone at this time, so, or teaching a class. I can't remember. But we do have Bureau Keynotes tonight, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We will see you all then. I love you all so much. You can plant better. You can dominate. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.
Love you.
Break fast. Love you more.